as many of you probably know, I'm a very, very huge fan of hockey. And unfortunately this year, my New York Rangers shit the bed once again. We're currently in a rebuilding phase. I'll talk about that later in the video if I get the chance. But with that being said, I have been able to watch some of the playoffs as well as the entire Stanley Cup, which unfortunately went to a Game 7 when it shouldn't have. I mean, fucking St. Louis should have had this game won, or should have had this series won in Game 6, but we'll get into that as time goes on in the video. But I'm happy though, because finally St. Louis Blues have won the Stanley Cup. And which is good because the reign of the Eastern Conference has finally come to an end. And throughout this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about stuff I noticed throughout the games, stuff that irked me, just shit like that. But let me first go into detail more about why I hate the East so much, besides the Rangers, and why I always pick against them. And it's needless, I don't even need to say it. I mean, the Rangers are the only team I actually like in the NHL. I just don't hate the Western teams as much as I hate every single Eastern team in the Rangers division. It's pretty self-explanatory. I absolutely fucking despise teams like the Bruins, the Canadiens, I think they're East, fucking the Florida Panthers, the Penguins, all those teams I absolutely despise. And for the last 3 fucking years of my life of watching hockey, I've seen nothing but East Coast teams win the NHL or win the Stanley Cup, which irks the shit out of me because I absolutely hate. I mean, the Penguins won 2 years in a row, which they shouldn't have. They won 2 years in a row. Then the Capitals won last year, which we all know how I felt about that. The meme finally died, and again, much to my dismay. But this year, things are a little different, and the West has finally claimed their throne once again with the St. Louis Blues, who have actually never won a Stanley Cup in their entire franchise, so congratulations to them. I'm sure it is very well deserved, because these guys, from what I understand, they suffered a lot of issues throughout the season, and they somehow went on a massive roll. I think it was like roughly after the All-Star break, and they just absolutely just went nuts, and they ended up winning. They had a pretty decent showing in the playoffs, and they actually ended up winning. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the shit I noticed throughout the series that was fucking bothering me. It's kind of like a review of the Stanley Cup, more or less, but I can't nearly do a review as well as guys like Urinating Tree and other sports shit poster channels on YouTube, but I'll do my very best to review it as best I can. I'll tell you one thing. I have never seen a team who's gone absolutely full fucking when it comes to penalties. First of all, I do want to make a mention that this might be one of the most physical series I've ever witnessed, because these guys were fucking putting hits on each other left and right. People were getting smacked in the face with sticks. Chara on the Bruins broke his jaw with a puck and still played somehow. I mean, as much as I fucking despise Chara, I gotta admire the balls on that man. But here's the other thing though. When it goes back to the penalties, the one thing I noticed more than anything in this series against the Bruins was that every time, or most of the time, there was a penalty, the Blues defense just shit the bed, and they would give up goals left and right. And this was very prevalent in games like Game 1, Game 3, what else? In Game 6, it was also prevalent in, but it was more prevalent early on in the series, especially when the Bruins were giving up a lot of goals. Not the Bruins, the Blues were giving up a lot of goals during penalty kills, and it was frustrating to watch, to be honest, and it was a fucking pain. Luckily, luckily in Game 2, they kind of came back after being smashed in Game 1, and fucking Gunnarsson the Gunman, as I avidly had called him, fucking scored that beautiful goal in overtime, which was pretty much at that point the only overtime in the series. Let's see, Game 3, Blues completely, and this is what pissed me off the most. Most of the time when you're in your home arena, in your hometown, playing a championship level game, you'd think that would give a team a boost, and that doesn't happen all the time. But I have noticed that especially last season, it did happen a lot with the last Stanley Cup finals between Vegas and the Capitals. But in Game 3, I don't know what the fuck happened, but the Blues just went they just went dummy, dude. They just went full fucking stupid and forgot how to play hockey for that entire game, and they got absolutely smashed in their first ever Stanley Cup game, or one of their first Stanley Cup games at home ever. It's kind of sad if you think about it. I felt bad for them, but at the same time I was so fucking pissed off and frustrated. I just wanted the whole organization to blow up. I was so upset. Let's see. What else do I got here? I've taken notes on this whole fucking series, believe it or not. I will say this much. Game 4 was a lot better. There was an incredible offensive sequence that lasted probably a solid 3.5-4 minutes by the Blues. And this is including a power play. So not only did they have the advantage with the power play, but for the next 2.5-3 minutes after the fact, they were just absolutely decimating, and I mean decimating, the Bruins in offense. And they, surprisingly enough, they didn't score, but they still did a really solid job. They had a lot of solid chances. And the other thing I want is, the one thing I want to mention is too, the goaltending was subpar on the Blues side at best. Mostly because, I don't think Binnington's that good. I think he's kind of, I think, especially in Game 6, it wasn't really his fault that he was kind of shitty. He more or less, his team kind of fucking forgot how to play defense, and he had to suffer the brunt of it. Although most of the time I do think it was his fault. I don't think he's that good. And I'm no Bruins fan by any means. Like I said, I hate the Bruins. They're one of my least favorite teams to even think about in the NHL. But Tuukka Rask is fucking insane. That guy was fucking pulling saves out of his ass left and right in some games. And fucking Game 6, there was an incredible fucking moment. I was jumping out of my seat thinking this was a goal because it was 1-0 at the time. So I'm thinking, oh shit, the Blues finally tied the game. And this save is fucking incredible, and this kind of summed up the Blues' fate in Game 6. Because by the time this happened, you knew they were going to lose the game. And okay, so Rask saves the puck. You'd have to go back and watch the Game 6 highlights to understand. But Rask saves the puck or something, and it ricochets off from somewhere behind him. Now, at that point, the puck is gone. It's a goal. But somehow, a guy from the Bruins named McAvoy times his stick so precisely to just smack the puck out from behind Rask and puts it back into play, and it's no goal. And I'm not gonna lie, I think the officiating in this fucking series was pretty shitty for the most part, especially in Game 4. Game 4, a lot of people were moaning, or not Game 4, Game 5, a lot of people were moaning about. But needless to say, that fucking goal was insane. But I really, really do think that the NHL should have reviewed it further. I don't know where the headquarters is. I think it's in like Toronto or some shit. I really do think they should have checked to see if there was an opportunity that especially in the vertical view from the top of from above the net. I would have loved to have seen if that puck passed the goal line or not, the blue line. Because if it did, it would have been a goal. Especially, and I think it would have given St. Louis some peace of mind of what instead of wondering about what could have been. And like I said, they got absolutely fucking smashed. They absolutely squandered that opportunity to win in their home turf, which, even though I'm happy they won, I'm not gonna lie, I do think St. Louis was the much better team. Not St. Louis, the Bruins. Fuck me, what the hell is wrong with me? But you know what I'm trying to say. The Bruins were a much better team than the Blues were in that whole series. Yeah, the Bruins had some issues too. I'm not going to argue that. I think there was a lot of dirty hits. I think guys like Marchand are absolutely fucking shitty. The shittiest fucking players in the NHL. He's an ugly motherfucker too. But I was fucking praying to God that Chara would be hurt too again. Someone was like saying to my TV, break this motherfucker's leg or something. Prevent him from playing. Stop making him get big plays or whatever. And it was a frustrating thing. But I do think Bruins were the better team, but they didn't win. So I'm not going to say the Blues didn't deserve it, but they definitely didn't play to par for a lot of this series. I think, of course, there were some games they had some really great offensive, play going on, but like I said, they were awful. Their penalty killing was absolute trash for most of the series. The entire, what did I say? The fucking entire game 3, they forgot how to play hockey and got absolutely blown out in their home turf. How does that shit even happen? It's insane. But that's just my review of the Stanley Cup. Once again, so congratulations to the St. Louis Blues. You deserve it. I'm happy the East Coast has finally lost their finally lost their hold on the cup. God, man. But I will say this much before I leave you guys today. This is why I feel hockey is probably one of the most elite sports in history. The level of play when you go from playoffs, in the entire playoffs, to the Stanley Cup is insane. Regular season's great and all, but there's something about playoff hockey that just makes things incredible. Something in the players sparks in their head, and they're just making plays that you would only see in the Stanley Cup final and in the playoffs in general. It's fucking insane. There are moments and plays that happen that are some of the craziest things you'll ever see. And before I go, I just want to say I'm really hoping the New York Rangers start something soon. We're making a lot of big plays recently, and I just hope to God that we can just finally get our heads out of our asses. I don't think our coach is bad. I actually like our coach a lot better than Alain Vigneault, but I'm just really praying to God that we can make a playoff run, at least within 2 or 3 years. But I'm not expecting a Stanley Cup run, at least not for another 5 or 6. Anyway, my name is Ed0626. Hope you guys enjoyed this hockey talk in this video today. Congratulations once again to the St. Louis Blues. Hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay as well. Some Black Ops 4 with my buddies, whose links are all down in the description below. Please do me a favor and follow them. Anyway, hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you guys on Friday for EBCW.